What's going on? It's your boy Bowie here, aka the Sub Scientist, aka the Gelid Glaciologist. And I'm here to talk about Sub Zero because I want to run a thought experiment. Ed Boon mentioned something about four characters that need some more love. And people had been putting their picks, and invariably some people are going, we're going to mention Sub-Zero. I don't think Sub-Zero needs any more love. I don't think he needs any more buffs at all, because at the highest level the character is solidly mid-tier, which makes him good, because even the worst characters in this game are still decent and can win tournaments because they have. This character is a good character. You just have to play very well, because he's not going to carry you to victory just because his name is Sub-Zero. You have to make good reads. You have to not play like an idiot. You have to play defensively and patient, because if you don't, other characters are going to fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? Your neutral has to be strong. Your fundamentals got to be strong. Stuff like that. He doesn't have an unga bunga situation or a win condition that just gives him victory for free. And that's the kind of stuff you need at the tippity top level, the highest levels of gameplay. But you don't need that if you're playing in Combat League or against your friends or against strangers online. And so the purpose of these buffs is to sort of give him that competitive edge that allows him to be top tier, among the top tier characters in this game. Okay? They're not designed to overhaul the way that he plays, because the way that he plays is perfectly fine. He's different. He's not meant to be an up close monster like this guy. He's not meant to apply pressure or anything like that like this guy. He's meant to play methodical and defensive and reactive, and he's supposed to get big rewards for it. Okay? I'm not trying to change that. What I do want to change is the balance between the risk and the reward that he endures for playing this way. So in this video, you're not going to hear me asking for no faster overhead. I think that is the most banal protozoan thing you could ask for. You know what I'm saying? Because for one, a faster overhead would only serve to make him play, a little bit more like this guy right here, where Noob can just throw out his 50-50s and, if you block them, oh well, you get nothing. I don't want that for Sub. I don't want him to be scrubby. I don't want him to be stupid. I want him to reward good gameplay. And giving him a faster overhead, all that does is it gives him a little bit better odds on the 50-50 coin flip. But at the highest level, people are going to read your overhead, and if you don't hit it, then you're in the same boat as before. You know what I'm saying? So hell no. Let me tell you what I will advocate for, starting with buff number 1. So, what's the first buff? A buff to the Ice Clone. Specifically, a buff to the recovery of the Ice Clone. This is a buff that I've been asking for a while now. And Sub-Zero needed this buff more when his clone was only active for 70 frames. But now that it's active for 100 frames, he doesn't need this buff as much, because the ratio between active frames and recovery frames is much higher. But for Sub-Zero to be spending 44% of his clone time in recovery, that's quite a bit of time. You know what I'm saying? Against people in the lower ranks, or against regular people on Combat League, even against good players, you can get away with people not punishing this. But when you're fighting folks at the very highest of levels that are ready to punish clone, it becomes a nightmare for us to do anything and cancel it into clone. Now we can mitigate it by, you know, being less predictable with our clone cancels, such as mixing stuff like this, or like this, or just not canceling in the clone. We can do that. That's always an option. But it would be very nice if Sub-Zero didn't get punished for using his trap move the same way that everyone else gets to use theirs. So let me show you the current ramifications of this clone situation. Whoops, sorry. Bruh, I'm blocking too soon. Hold on, I didn't mean to do that. See that? I can punish things on reaction. See that? I'm actually curious as to whether I can recover. Yeah, whatever. Y'all get the idea. So as you can see, a character like Scorpion gets a full combo punish from us canceling into our clone. And he's not even the only one. Takeda can literally back two right through this because his back two is 20 frames. So as soon as we do this on block, Takeda's doing back two whip whip into major combo damage. So we just can't even clone cancel at all against that character. Same thing with Quan Chi. Same thing with Katana, though Katana doesn't get as much of a reward as the other characters do. And there's other characters that I'm sure I haven't thought of that just can straight up punish Sub-Zero for just using this move, you know? And that's due to the high recovery. So what do I suggest? I suggest taking this recovery from 44 frames to 31 frames. Why? Because that's Scorpion's recovery. Actually, it's 30 frames. Yeah, 30. You see how fast this recovers? Look how quick they have to block after that. Because it's 30 frames of recovery. That's why that move is good. Look how much longer it takes for me to block by comparison. I'm holding block as soon as possible. You know what I'm saying? So, giving Sub-Zero better recovery on the clone, that would have a lot of great benefits for him. Oh, okay. Yeah, so for one, obviously it would mean that characters would have to read when I'm going to cancel into clone rather than react. Right now, a lot of characters can just see the clone and be like, ooh, punish, You know what I'm saying? They literally can just read the shit or react to it, you know? They see the clone, it's like, oh, you cloned? Bomb. That's no good, especially at the highest level. Every character can do their armor through the clone on reaction. They all can just armor. And with the prevalence of armored launchers in the game, that means they get a combo just because I did this. And this is my trap move. I'm supposed to do clone into this and down one into this and shit like that. And so for us to get punished on reaction is a lot. So making this move be only 30 frames of recovery instead, it would mean that the person would have to commit to punishing this clone. And that's fine. And I'm cool with characters still being able to punish me for doing it. Characters like Quan Chi, characters like Takeda. I'm cool with all that. But I want I want it to be more of a read than a reaction. The other benefit that this would have is it would make stuff like this completely safe. Because this is plus 31 if you do it from the ground. And if you do it from a combo, that's plus 35. So we would actually be able to do combos like that and then safely set up clone, which would be amazing for him. You know, so the Lin Kuei train would just be the universal clone setup. They would become one thing with that buff. Also, if Sub-Zero ended his strings or ended his combos with strings like that, that would also be safe. Let me see if I can do 2 into it. Oh yeah, that's safe too. You see what I'm saying? So it would give Sub-Zero more combo variety in the corner, because depending on how I end my combo, I can get a really nice little knockdown, and the knockdown would then allow me to set up, what the hell, do myself. I can do stuff like that and be safe. Or I can do stuff like this. Bruh. Oh, my God. Why is my stuff? Anyway, y'all understand what I'm trying to do. So any combo I end with this, it's a clone setup. That'd be very good for Sub-Zero. You know? Yeah. So that buff alone would be a godsend for him, and that would help us across the board, especially at the highest level. Let's talk about buff number 2 now. So, buff number 2 for Sub-Zero that would propel him to top tier would be if Sub-Zero had a little additional animation at the end of this throw. If Sub-Zero had some sort of pop-up at the end of this throw that propelled opponents into the air, he would now have more access to throw combos. He already currently has throw combos with both Chameleon and Cyrax, and that's part of the reason why people rank those cameos so high for him, because they give him that extra little bit of mix, since allegedly he has trouble opening people up. Sub-Zero doesn't have unique trouble opening people up, but what happens is many of the top tier characters have access to throw combos, and with most of his good cameos, Sub-Zero does not have access to throw combos because the opponent's kept on the ground. You see what I'm saying? Meanwhile, a character like Johnny Cage, his back throw puts opponents in the air, even if for a split second. And that allows him to do little shit like that. Now, he can probably do way more. I don't know what all he does. But I just made that up. You know what I mean? And I'm just using that to illustrate the point. Obviously, with other cameos, he can do way more damage off of a throw combo. Now, yeah. He technically has a built-in throw combo with his clone. But mid-screen, you're not going to get this. You know, this only becomes accessible in the corner for the most part. But notice this has to be set up off of a clone, and you know, people can armor through it and stuff like that. But the point is, with Sub-Zero having access to more throw combos, now his mid becomes more dangerous, the low becomes more dangerous, his staggers become more dangerous overall, even the forward throw becomes more of a threat. because people are now trying to avoid this. You know. And here's the thing. It's not like NRS would have to go extra crazy and give him an entirely new animation. They can literally keep all of this, and then just at the bottom, he just pops them up with something like this. A little stalagmite can pop up from the ground and pop the opponent up in the air just briefly. You know, it doesn't even have to do no extra damage. That, and then boom, at the end of that throw, just out of the ground, just to pop them up real quick. Or whatever NRS wants to do, because, you know, they're very creative with their animations and stuff like that. They'll figure something out. But the point of the matter is, a little change like that would help Sub-Zero a lot at the highest level. And, you know, for the 99% of players, many of whom probably won't even use the cameos that would give them the throw combo, it doesn't affect them at all. And therefore doesn't make Sub-Zero stupid. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. Now, let's get into the third and final buff that Sub-Zero would use to go from mid-tier to top tier. All right, the third and final buff that would propel Sub-Zero from mid-tier to top tier would be another buff to his clone. See, Sub-Zero's Ice Clone is a trap move, meaning that once you deploy this move on screen, if the opponent touches it in any way, shape, or form, they get frozen, which gives a combo opportunity. Sub-Zero's not the only character with a trap move. Several other characters have trap maneuvers, including some cameos. And one of those characters with a trap move is Katana. See, anyone who's played Katana understands the versatility and utility of Wind Bomb, especially now that it's been buffed. But one of the characteristics of Wind Bomb is that when it's set up, you don't go near that Wind Bomb. You can walk up and block it, just like you can walk up and block Clone, technically. But if you decide to attack Katana, whether she gets hit with the attack or blocks it, you get blown up. Let me demonstrate some of that right now. Whoops, hold on, sorry. You can attack late or early. You can hit her even. And it's a combo. Now, if you're early enough, you can interrupt. So it's not like it's all doom and gloom. Just like you can with Sub-Zero. But if you're not early, you're done. You see? And that same principle also applies for Cyrax, both the character and the cameo. We know that Cyrax, the character, has her regular bombs. Those regular bombs, once active, they stay out and they explode on block or hit. It doesn't matter. Now, you can interrupt them early if you want, and if you do that, then the bomb does not activate. But once it's active, you better not be near that bomb, because you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get blown up. And even if you block the explosion is plus 1,000,000,000, so Cyrax can move before you can. Obviously, the Cyrax cameo has the bomb call out, which is it's technically not an ambush, but once it's active, it becomes one, and lets you hit the Cyrax cameo. He's going to drop a bomb, and that bomb's going to detonate no matter what. And then, obviously, you have the Movado cameo. Whoops, I did that last time. So the Movado cameo just happens no matter what. Notice, I even hit the Movado cameo, and I got caught. You see that? So all these other trap moves in the game, they hit you no matter what. Yet with Sub-Zero's Ice Clone, it goes away on block. It goes away on block. And it damn sure goes away on hit. So it goes away on block and on hit. So, oh, did it record? Oh. Notice, we've already established that this move stays out for 100 frames. Right? Yet, when Katana throws her projectile, she makes it go away. That would never happen in the reverse situation. So, what is the change to Sub-Zero? Make his Ice Clone not go away on block or hit. It stays out for its entire active duration. Maybe you can stuff Sub-Zero when he's trying to bring the clone out, but once that thing is out, it doesn't go away on block or on hit, just like every other trap move in the game. Now, you might be thinking, what the heck? Wouldn't that make, some of you are thinking, wouldn't that make him really stupid? In certain situations, sure, it would. It would. But he wouldn't be any more stupid than Katana already is, and Katana's one of the more fair characters in the game. She has to set up her trap, and she can throw you into it and get a full combo after doing damn near half-life to you to set you up there. I don't see a problem with Sub-Zero doing the same thing. And we know how stupid Cyrax can be with Serena, right? Even though she's not really stupid with anyone else. So every other character with a trapping move, their traps just don't go away. Yet Sub-Zero, whose entire archetype is trapping, space control trap, his goes away. If he were normalized to be like everyone else, he would immediately go up into the next tier. You know why? Because in the corner, he would kind of be very scary. He'd be quite scary. So imagine the scenario. Sub-Zero gets a slide combo, he ends in slide, or you know, he does this on you. Sub-Zero goes in, the opponent does a jab to stop you from throwing them into this. Except, even though you hit Sub-Zero, you still got frozen by the clone. Because you moved, he forced you to attack. And because you attacked, you got frozen. That'd be pretty cool. Or he does universal clone setup. You know what I'm saying? And once the clone was set up, you try to attack him, and you hit me successfully, but you get frozen anyway. I've already seen that happen already. There's been many times where I set up a clone and somebody goes to do a neutral jump kick, and they actually kick me, but then they get frozen. So this phenomenon already happens in the game from time to time. It would just be more official, you know? But what it would do is it would establish a really strong corner threat from this character. Like, you better not ever get thrown into the corner, because if you even try to attack this character to try to get him off of you while the clone is out, it's a problem for you. And then of course if he does EX clone, now the problems are compounded, because notice this thing's out for 4 seconds, which is long enough for me to do that. You know what I'm saying? But what happens is this being out for so long really establishes a really serious threat. Because if the opponent attacks me, they still get frozen. So they have to be very thoughtful in how they attack, which is the whole point of the character, making you think before you step in the landmine. You know? Now that is what I call some top tier buffing. You know what I'm saying? That's what the hell I'm talking about. So all in all, does Sub-Zero need any of these buffs? No, he does not. He's already a good character. He's already a great character in the hands of dangerous players. Players like Hanzo, players like Can't Stop the Train, players like Sikander, players like Blast, Arona, Just Measy, just to name a few. And there's more. There's a bunch of really, really, really good Sub-Zero players that make you wonder why anyone would ever bother to ask this character to be buffed any further. This character's good. He's just not top because he's not stupid. Like him. Or like him. Or like him. Or like her. Or like him. You see what I'm saying? This character is honest and fair. Sort of like the young lady that he's being matched up against right now. And being a good, fair character at the highest level is a liability. These buffs are designed to make him a little bit less fair, but still not stupid. And still not overhauling his general archetype and game plan. You know what I'm saying? But make no mistake, just because Sub-Zero lacks these buffs and probably won't get them, doesn't mean that suddenly every loss that you take is because this character's low tier. He's not low tier. He's not low tier. Your attitude towards him is low tier. We need to buff that. All right. So with that being said, let me know how y'all feel in the comments. Please don't come up with a litany of other buffs. He doesn't need that. He doesn't even need the 3 that I mentioned. All right. But let's try to be creative. Let's also try to be realistic. All right. But with that being said, I'll catch y'all later. Y'all stay froze.